Hi, this is Happy Bird from happybirdsglitternest.blogspot.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful little blue angel wing ornaments. These were so easy to make. They're made out of stiff felt, triple thick, and about 3 different types of glitters that I'll talk to you about. And I do have this free angel wing pattern that I made for you, and I'll put it in the Show More drop-down bar below this video, as well as on my blog. And speaking of Shabby Chic, be sure to check out my friend Elaine's page. Her Facebook page is the Sister Syndicate, and she posts all kinds of Shabby Chic crafts and card making and jewelry making, and she really encourages others to share their crafts as well. So be sure and check out her page. I think that you'll like it. So with that said, I'm going to show you how to make these very simple blue angel wing ornaments. Okay, the first thing you're going to need is some stiff white felt, and you can buy this at any craft store. If you live in a country where this isn't available to you, you can make your own stiff white felt by taking white felt and using a fabric stiffener on it. One of my viewers commented and said she did that and it worked beautifully. So I do have a pattern for you, and when you print out the pattern, then just staple it to some cardboard and cut it out, and you'll have a permanent pattern that you can use. Now I traced this with my mechanical pencil because I really liked the way it got in close around the edges. Okay, and so the first thing that we're going to do with this is use some triple thick on it. And I buy this in the big jar and I pour it into my little bottle because it's a lot more cost effective this way. And the reason why we're putting this on, if you haven't been following my videos, is because we need this to soak into the felt and dry, so we'll have a skin that will be there when I put on the second coat and all the glitter. And this will really harden up a lot as we put the layers on. So don't be concerned about any weakness in this area, because this is just a narrow strip. Because the ones that I did before this, it worked out really well, and I let it sit for a couple of days and it hardened up a lot, and so this area here is very strong. Okay? Alright, so as you can see, I'm putting it in all the little corners. You might be wondering why I'm using the side with the pencil marks around it. That's because we can cover that up. Okay? So I'm just making that the front. So making sure that I got all the little areas, I'm going to place this in front of my tabletop fan. And once this is completely dry, I'm going to turn it over and do the exact same thing on the back. Okay? So let me do that and then I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I put the skin on it, and so it's hard. I did it on both sides, and I let it dry in front of my tabletop fan for about 5 hours on each side. So I picked up this really pretty ultra-fine glitter at Walmart, and the color is Caribbean. Now, these glitters never used to have a brand name, but I noticed they started putting a brand name on these glitters. They're very inexpensive. They're $2.88 for each one. And so whatever ultrafine glitter you decide to use, make sure it's a pastel color or a white iridescent color, because those really work the best on a project like this. So First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put another layer of the triple thick. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, let me get a paper towel here. Okay, and I'm just going to move it around with my makeup brush here. And I buy these little makeup brushes at the Dollar Tree. It works so well on projects like that, like this, I mean. And they wash out so nice. No problems with any bristles coming out, or very durable. Okay. Alright. I'm going to wipe this off a little bit here. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is just hold this up and just kind of sprinkle over it like this, and hold it up fairly high, just making sure that you have most of it covered. It doesn't have to be 100% covered because I'm going to be adding other colors, but just like that. Don't be concerned if it looks slightly patchy in places, because this will only add to the beauty of the angel wings when we're finished, and you'll see more about that a little bit later on. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm not going to shake it. I'm just going to turn it over once like this, and then I'm going to allow this to dry under my tabletop fan, and then I'll be back and I'll show you the rest. Okay, so now this is dried, so we're going to put a little more triple thick on, and we're going to pay special attention to the edges, so we don't want any of those pencil marks showing. So I'm just going to make little dots like this. I shouldn't say little because they're not really little. Okay, and then I'm going to take my little makeup brush here. This is a different one. And I'm just going to kind of bounce it right along the edges here too. You really want to make sure that it gets in there in the edges for this part. Okay. Alright. So now I'm going to put some of this Tencel glitter in Glitz by Recollections, and it's an iridescent Tencel glitter. And I'm just going to tap some of this on, like this. I don't generally use a whole lot of Tencel glitter in my projects, but for this, it's perfect. And then this is some more jumbo glitter that I bought from the Dollar Tree. I've had this for a while. Not the Dollar Tree. I said Dollar Tree, didn't I? I'm sorry, I meant Walmart. And I'm just shaking some of this on, like so. Okay. Alright. So now I'm just going to allow this to dry. push it in a little bit on the sides. Make sure that nothing's hanging over. Like that. Okay. So now I'm going to allow this to dry, and then we have one more type of glitter that's really going to top it all off, and I'll show that to you right after this dries. And I'll put this under my tabletop fan on low, and I'll be back. Okay, so the wings have dried, and we're ready to put the final touch on the front. However, before I do that, I just wanted to let you know, don't be concerned if this seems a little weak in the front yet. We still have a little more to do on this. And one thing I learned about the triple thick is that it can feel completely dry, but if you let this sit for a day or two, you'll realize just how much more that it hardens up. So, you know, it's really important to do that, to give it that drying time, because it really does allow it to cure. So with that said, I'm going to show you what else we're going to do for the final touch. And we're just going to be dropping little droplets of the triple thick here and there. Okay. I'll wipe that off. I always do that. Okay, let me get a paper towel. Okay. Going to take my makeup brush and just kind of bounce over the triple thick like this, here and there, and there and here. Okay, so then I'm going to take some of this beautiful clear 70 grit German glass glitter that Debbie gave me, and I'm going to take a little bit out of the jar and just sprinkle it over like this. And I will have a link to this particular German glass glitter. I think that you'll really, really like it. And once again, this is from Sugar Camp Cottage on Etsy, and this is Debbie's email address right here. So I'll make sure to give a link down below and on my blog. I should say down below in the drop down bar where it says show more. Okay, so I'm going to pick this up and just gently tuck in all the little fuzzies if there's any glitter hanging off the side. Tuck it in here and here, and I'm not going to shake it, just going to gently pour it off like so. And so now I'm going to allow this to dry, and you'll see when it's finished that it'll look just like glass, and the shine will be absolutely incredible. Okay, so let me do that, and I'll put this under my tabletop fan for, I'll probably just allow it to go overnight, and then tomorrow we'll finish up on the rest. Okay, so I let this sit overnight, and as you can tell, it has gotten a lot harder, and especially through here. This is very, very sturdy, and I don't even have the back on yet. So with the back, I'm not going to go to all this trouble because we're going to be covering up most of it anyway with the marabou feather. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one coat of this extra fine glitter on the back. So I'm going to take some more of this triple thick, which will give this even more strength. And just kind of move this around with my brush, making sure that I have the edges here too. That's really important. All around here, right to the very tip. And I noticed that I spilled a little here. Not that it really matters all that much, but I have a tendency to do that when I put this triple thick on. I don't know why. There's always one area that I make drippy. Okay, so I'm going to shake some of this glitter on, and this is in Caribbean, that's the color. And I like to hold it up a little bit when I shake it on. Get the corners. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to lift this up. My toothpick. Just going to gently turn it over once. I'm not going to shake it. And I might have to go back and touch it up here and here. So let me do that right now. And like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect in the back anyway, because most of it's going to be covered up. Okay. And there we go. Alright, so I'm just going to allow this to dry under my tabletop fan. And I'm going to make sure it's thoroughly dry before I put the marabou feather on. Alright, so I'm going to do that next. And I'll be back. Okay, so this is dried overnight and it's nice and stiff. So the first thing we're going to do on the back part is we're going to need to add a bail. Now I ran out of medium bails, and so I'm using the small one, which will work just as well. But I'll put a link to both the small bails and the medium bails in the Show More drop-down bar below my video, as well as on my blog. So before you glue this bail on, and this is really important, you're going to choose a ribbon or a cord, and you're going to slip this through first before you glue this on. And I'll show you why after I do this. Now, with the ribbon, I generally just fold it in half and slip it through like that. Like so. Now the reason why you have to do this beforehand is because if you glue this bail on without slipping this through first, you're going to have a really tough time getting any kind of ribbon through here, especially in this little tiny space. And believe me, ask me how I know, because I made a couple of others before this, and like a dummy I did that, and I really struggled getting that ribbon through. I had to push it through finally with a toothpick. So be sure and do that first. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of E6000 glue, holding this up like this so the ribbon doesn't get into it, into the glue. And I'm going to put some E6000, and I'm also going to put a little bit of hot glue. Now, since this veil is smaller and it's going to be hidden anyway by the marabou feathers, I put a little more on than I normally would, and because it doesn't really matter if it seeps out a little bit around the edges. It'll just help it to hold even more so. Okay, and with that hot glue, it grabbed right away, so it'll have a chance now to dry. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to allow the E6000 in this to dry, and when that has dried thoroughly, then we'll come back and we'll add the last couple of touches, which are very simple. So I'm just going to allow this to dry, and I'll be back. Alright, I bought these little 16mm resin flowers, and I'll give you the name of the person I bought them from. I believe I paid 60 cents, and that's with free shipping for 15 pieces. And I've purchased a lot of different resin pieces from this particular Chinese seller, and I've always received them, but it does take about 4 weeks or so to arrive. So, you know, I don't know if they would arrive in time for Christmas or not. And I'm just giving an estimate when I say 4 weeks. So, I'll go ahead and give you the link, though, in the Show More drop-down bar and on my blog. So in the meantime, I am putting this, putting some hot glue on this, and I'm going to turn this over because we're going to put this in the front, right here in the center. And you can use really any piece, but I just liked this one. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue marabou feathers across the back there. And I've used a lot of this, but I bought this at Michael's. It was just a couple of inches shy of 2 yards, and I paid $3.29 for it. And I liked the fluffiness of it, so we'll go ahead and put that on. I'll show you how to do that. So you would probably do well to cut this outside, and you'll see why in a moment, because I have to cut this inside because of the fact that I'm recording this. So I cut this, or I found that it worked best when I cut it into 3 pieces. So I'm going to take the first piece and measure it across the back, just like this, okay? And then, so I'm going to cut that off right here from end to end, all right? And then I'll come back in and add a little more on the sides. Now you'll see what I'm talking about. And the only pieces that are flying, of course, are the pieces that I'm cutting, but oh my goodness, these do fly everywhere, and they're so lightweight. I was cleaning them off my craft desk with this sticky roller. I mean, you barely touch it and it would just fly. So I'm not going to worry about this right now. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot glue gun, and on the back I'm going to make a line right straight across. Right across my bail. Then I'm going to lay this feather right straight across. Okay? And if you turn it over in the front, you can see some of the fluffy. Now we're going to add a small piece on this side. I'm going to turn it upwards just a little bit, and a small piece on this side. We're going to turn that upwards just a little bit. So I'll probably cut a piece that is about an inch long for both sides. So there's one. I'm just going to measure this up against the other if I can. I'm going to have fun cleaning these feathers up. Okay. Alright, let me put that aside. So now I have these two pieces. And I want to put one, let me turn this over, about here, like that. And maybe about like here. Just kind of measure it and see roughly where you'll like it. So I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue right there and press it down in it. Like so. We have one side on. And so now put this one on about here, I think. I think that would look good. Maybe this direction. Yeah, you don't need much poking out over the sides. You might be asking yourself, well, why didn't you just take one long strip and put it right straight across? Well, the reason why I didn't is because I wanted to turn these feathers a little upwards on the sides. Not much, but just a little bit. Make sure that's going to hold. I might need another little dot right about here. Yeah. I think I'm going to do the same thing on here just to hold it a little bit better. Alrighty. Here we go. So this is what we have so far. And let me clean up all these little fuzzies with my roller, and then I will be back to tie off the ribbon. Okay, so this was one that I made earlier. I'm just going to tie this in a knot right about here. Oops, I want to make sure I have the shiny side of the ribbon before I tie it. There we go. And I'll probably put a knot in it about this point right here. Tie this, pull this real tight, and then just make a small little upward slant cut. I'm just taking a little bit of the E6000 Fabrifuse. That's what I used on my little felt bags, and I'm just dabbing the top just like that so it won't come unraveled. Alright, so as you can see, I think both of these turned out really pretty. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and I will definitely give you the links like I said before. And if you have a chance, be sure and check out the Facebook channels that I mentioned at the beginning of my videos. I think that you'll really enjoy them. So you take care, each and every one of you, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.